What do cows read the most?
The moose paper.
Catalogs. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Brand Coverage. Stop the intro. I'm Brandon Carney alongside Pat Gustafson. We are continuing with our divisional previews today. Today we've got the NFC South, hence why I am donning this beautiful Bijan Robinson jersey.
I don't have anything to don for this.
I mean, I do have a PITTS jersey in the closet, but I think that might burn your skin.
I did have a Matt Ryan jersey once upon a time, but I don't know where that is.
How did you acquire?
I had a phase in like middle school where I just liked having jerseys of a bunch of like. I had like a Rams Steven Jackson jersey.
See, like that's fire. I feel like Matt Ryan's a guy that I'm like. I mean, I understand he was a dude at that point. He was one of the quarterbacks, but I'm like. I still don't know that I'd be compelled to get a Matt Ryan jersey.
Yeah, I think I was kind of at the place where I was just like, to my family, like, buy me a jersey and I'll wear. Like,
yeah,
buy whatever you want. Like, I'm not going to tell you who I want.
I'm like low key starting to think about like getting back to that point. Let me get this camera a little more.
Yeah, so you've already got a much better collection than me.
Yeah,
and I'm also like extremely cursed when it comes to buying jerseys and then players leaving, especially with the Raiders and Yankees.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not totally uncursed. I do recall one of the first jerseys I ever got that was super nice was a stitched Randy Moss jersey, and I bought it the day before the Patriots traded him away to I believe it was back to the Vikings. So that was super sick. But yeah, I feel like as I'm getting older, I'm like thinking about getting back into the jersey fandom because I'm like, when people reach this age, they just give a fuck less about what people think anymore. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going back. 12-year-old me had it figured out. Yeah, jerseys all the time. I don't leave my house anyway, so what's the difference? I was literally thinking today about getting where is it? Getting me a jersey because I want a Bayshore too, and I think that'd be fire. Get me a black with the green accents, whatever Bayshore Tootin' jersey. I think that'd be fire.
Unfortunately, I don't have the funds to do that at the moment.
Let's get a GoFundMe for Pat's strange jerseys.
Just only what I was gonna say a GoFundMe just so Pat can exist.
I'll just I'll pay you at the end of the year your lump sum payment for the work you do for me in the form of jerseys. I'll just get you 8.
Get me 8
I'll get
jerseys.
You 8 jerseys, and
I'll be honest, I wouldn't hate
that. just a mystery box of jerseys. Hold on. Now that we can't pre-schedule these streams, I need to do the normal settings for them. Like as we're live, so adding our hashtags and stuff, which is super sick. Shout out Streamlabs. How about you figure out how to let me schedule ahead of time again, because this is getting old. Okay, there's our hashtags, and then don't worry folks, I know this is super exciting. We'll get into our divisional previews in a second after we get through a little bit of
news. But first for the first time, I believe, in brand coverage history, we had a brand coverage meetup. IRL, our good friend of the show, frequenter of the comments as you see him right now. As he just said, the casino did him dirty. Yes, they did. Jesus. Our boy Alex Schubert psychotically drove however long to meet me in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, of all places.
I was not there. I was in my humble abode.
Brand was not there. We went to a Pirates game. Oh, I was going to wear my pirate cowboy hat that I got.
Oh, you should have.
I forgot it. I had it ready to go.
Real sexy.
And, and I also met someone from my Immaculate Grid account.
I saw that. I saw you tweet about that.
I tweeted about it, and he replied. He goes, yo, I didn't know you were in Pittsburgh. I'm like, I didn't know you lived here. How was I supposed to know you lived here? And we met up and we did an Immaculate Grid. So If I'm ever in your area, the only reason he knew is because I tweeted that I was defiling a bathroom in Pittsburgh to own the libs.
Yep, naturally.
And I believe that's the only reason he found out. So if I'm ever in your area, give me a call. Even if you
give him a call at 134.
Give me a secret. Even if you're a secret murderer, that's fine. That was what we were talking about. We're like, are these guys just gonna come and murder us? And I'm like, so.
That'd be a pretty whack way for
someone to.
Well, I mean, a pretty funny way to die, but also what a way for them to just throw away their life, just murdering this random Immaculate Grid player podcast
who's already
host.
Ready.
Yeah, I mean that would be a pretty poor way to put your life either
But-
behind bars or over.
But yeah, so that was cool. That was very fun, and also a bit of housekeeping, as many of you know. Housekeeping. The Brandpire League has been filled. Yes, I did defile multiple bathrooms. The Dunkin' Donuts on I forget what street in Pittsburgh just got annihilated. Sorry, but we made our 8 selections for the Brandpire League, and for those of you who did not, you heard from us, and we're given the link to our Survivor League. Thank you all again for applying. And I know last year we picked the names out of a hat. Everyone's wondering about how the draft order will be done. And last year we did it out of a hat. So in a couple weeks, we're going to do it out of a hat live on the podcast. But yeah, so that's the Brandpire League. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, very, very excited. We will not be drafting.
I am not going to South Dakota.
We will once again be picking the scraps from, as is the nature of a Vampire League, but it's going to be a good time. All right, let's get into the news of the day. I've moved some buttons around on here, but we've still got them.
Good evening. I'm Ron Burgundy, and this is what's happening in your world tonight.
So still, obviously, relatively low news, but we do have some things to take care of here. First of all, players are starting to report to camp, Pat. This week, two days from now, the Seahawks rookies will be reporting to the camp. They are the first group of players to be officially reporting to training camp. Then the 49ers rookies follow suit on the 18th. The first veterans to report to training camp will be the 22nd with the Cardinals, who will be having their veterans and rookies report on the same day. And then the Panthers, also on the 22nd, their rookies will have reported the day before, but their vets are also getting there on the 22nd. So we are 2 days from the floodgates beginning to open. We are 7 days from them opening, even a little bit more, and then everybody will be in camp by the 28th, which is 13 days from now. So, folks, the shows are about to get a lot of fun because we get to wildly speculate and overreact to various training camp buzz and news.
The overreactions are going to be delicious.
It's going to be juicy. Just like a nice smoothie, a nice well-cooked steak, not overcooked because it needs to have the juice.
Yeah,
but
not well done, but well done in the sense that it was performed well.
Yes. Very delicious training camp news upcoming. So we are we're getting
so close. Eliza joined the Brandpire League. You haven't joined yet. You're the last person. Hurry up.
We are getting to that point. Very exciting. We do have 2 very parallel pieces of news here. Cases that were dropped, essentially. So the battery investigation into Geno Smith is no longer active. Geno will not be charged. He could still be disciplined under the NFL's personal conduct policy. Other note just from me is that he should also probably stop speeding. I think he's been caught speeding like 2 or 3 times this offseason because I feel like I've just kept seeing this steady stream of negative news about Geno, but it was really, he had the one incident, the battery thing that just got closed, but then also he just kept getting pulled over. And I'm like, buddy, are you just like unraveling now that you're in New York? Which is funny because he was just in Las Vegas for a year. Like if you're going to get in trouble, I understand New York roadways, New Jersey roadways aren't exactly, if that's even where he's been driving. I assume this is all happening in that vicinity. But like, I understand those areas are not the best. But like Vegas is, their roads there's a lot of lanes. There's a lot of speeding that happens there, as one Mr. Henry Jebediah Ruggs would let you know. That's not his official middle name. But
I was gonna say, when you said Vegas, I was just like,
yeah, Vegas and speeding go hand in hand, apparently, as does Topgolf as the third hand. But yeah, Geno, as far as this investigation goes, no longer active, could be disciplined by the NFL's personal conduct policy. I mean, if he is, look, from a fantasy perspective, it's the Jets. It would probably be like 2 games, and also, who cares?
I was going to say, maybe he's just like setting the bar so low that way when his play is still lackluster, but not like awful, it makes him look better in comparison.
At least I'm on the field. I mean, sure, I could be locked up. Maybe that's the angle he's going for. Similarly, this happened a few months ago, if you guys may recall, but it's a lineman, so you also may not recall. Rams left tackle Alaric Jackson will not face a felony charge after being arrested on domestic violence charge in June. He could also still be disciplined under the NFL.
I think people might remember this because I made the terrible leap of calling him Derelict Jackson.
That's right, you did.
So that
was
even
honestly, looking back, solid word.
Yeah,
that word just doesn't even cross my mind.
I know, but when I just say Alaric or Alaric, however it's pronounced, I'm just like derelict.
Yeah.
And even though he will not face a felony charge, he still very well might be a derelict.
Yep. And speaking of criminals, Terrion Arnold fucking took a physical in Houston on last Thursday for the Texans and is apparently scheduled to visit 2 more teams this week, according to Adam Schefter. So, guy, can we not do better than Terrion Arnold? Like, it'd be one thing if he was good, because I understand the NFL doesn't particularly care about crimes you commit unless they are law and order, especially heinous. And even then, it's really hit and miss if you're good enough. Terrion Arnold was like one of the 2 or 3 worst corners in football last year, and he was about a degree away from literally having to wear an ankle monitor. So, like, why are we bringing this guy?
I guess the thing is for the Texans is you'd think that defense is good enough where he wouldn't be a focal point. So it's just like even more the rich get richer with adding him as a depth piece. I suppose.
Richer? He's ass. What do you mean?
He's ass. What is a depth
having
piece?
Bad corners? I don't know.
Yes.
I mean, I guess as a bench guy,
That's what I mean.
Not a lot of risk, but like the guy is a bad. He kidnapped someone.
If Dan Campbell thinks you're nuts, then you're nuts.
He kidnapped someone.
Allegedly.
Do we need to work? Do we need to work out a bad corner when he was allegedly organizing a kidnapping ring and was like eye in the sky, like telling everyone the moves they need to make to kidnap and intimidate this person? It doesn't seem worth it to me, but I guess that's where we're at. The Seahawks sold for $9.6 billion, so that's
a lot.
That's a lot of money. We knew that they were going on sale. I think shortly before the Super Bowl, maybe shortly after that news broke, and them winning the Super Bowl certainly drove that price up a bit. So. Yeah, Seahawks sold. I just couldn't believe that amount of money. I was like 9.6.
We're going to see some heinous numbers in the next several years in terms of teams selling, especially if, I would consider the Seahawks on the bigger side of the franchise, notable fan base.
Multiple Super Bowls
in recent memory as well, and then they've made it to 2 others in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
So it's like they probably would have been worth a decent amount to begin with. So like if we see other teams on the level of the Seahawks in any of the 4 major sports get traded, we're gonna see some heinous numbers.
Heinous in my never mind. Stephon Diggs.
Heinous in your what?
I can't think of another word to try to play it off, so nowhere, nothing.
Vaginus.
Good call. Stephon Diggs says there are no wide receiver 2s better than him. So here's the thing. I'm going to go through depth charts and decide if he would be the best wide receiver 2 on this team and see how many teams he's right about, because I think he probably has a little bit of a point. He's not right. He's definitely not the best wide receiver 2 in the league. He should be signed. I think he will be signed by somebody. But let's go see where he would actually be the best wide receiver 2 on a team. The Bills, yes.
Yes. Dolphins, he'd be the wide receiver 1.
Dolphins, this man they'd probably build him a statue. Patriots,
yes.
Yeah, probably. But maybe not worth the headache. But Romeo Dobbs is, I think Diggs is probably better than him. Jets, yes. Ravens, yes. Bengals, no, absolutely not. T. Higgins, Moggs. Browns, yes. Steelers,
no.
Yeah, I think I'll take Pittman and DK Metcalf at this stage of their careers. They're a little bit younger than Diggs. Texans, yes. Colts, yes. Jaguars just have like a bunch of dudes.
So I'm gonna say no.
I'm gonna say no as well.
I'm gonna say no just because of
there's no point for him.
Yeah, like he might be the second best wide receiver on the team, but in terms of the depth that they have, I'll say no.
It'd really be splitting hairs. Titans, yeah.
Yes.
Broncos, no.
No.
Chiefs, yes. Raiders, number 1. Chargers,
yes.
Yeah. Cowboys,
God no. God no.
George Pickens, Moggs. Giants, yes. Eagles, yes.
Now, yes.
Commanders,
yes.
Yeah. Commanders is where he should go. Let's be
honestly,
so for real.
That's not a bad spot.
Bears, no. Lions, no. Packers, yes. Vikings, no. Falcons, yes. Panthers, yes. Saints, I'm gonna say no. I'll take Jordan.
Yeah, we can. Bucks, I'm gonna say no as well.
Bucks, I'll say no. I think Godwin and Diggs are basically the same at this point.
Cardinals, no.
Cardinals, no.
God, no.
Rams, no. Niners, I'll say no. I don't think Diggs comes in and like immediately. I mean, it'd be close. I don't know that he immediately is like, oh, Ricky Pearsall, pack your bags. Like Ricky, I want to see what he can do.
Yeah.
And Seahawks, I'll say no. I think Rashid Shaheed's probably better for what they want to do. So
I believe that's 23.
Yeah,
that was my count.
I mean, so you can meme it all you want because he's definitely not the best, but the best wide receiver too. But there are a lot of teams that he would make a lot of sense for. So we'll see if Diggs gets signed. I do respect the confidence, but. Patty,
who do you think is the best number 2 wide receiver? I think it's George Pickens, or whoever you classified on the count. I think it's Pickens. I think it's Devontae. I think it's T. Higgins.
I would agree. Well,
creme de la creme.
It's funny because we've got a lot of and this. Oh, I also meant to update people on my Scott Fishbowl draft, which I will in a second. But we've got a lot of these formerly super high-end wide receiver 2s who have left their teams or had situations change to where they are now wide receiver 1s. I feel like we've, for the longest time, had this cluster of Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle, even George Pickens. I feel like there's somebody else I'm forgetting. But Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle, George Pickens, T. Higgins, obviously.
Yeah, they still have it.
Of just like these super duper high-end wide receiver 2s, Chris Godwin even, while Mike Evans was still there. And it was like, what do we do with them for fantasy? How do we view them? But now all of their like a lot of these guys have been freed to a degree.
Yeah.
T. Higgins is really the only one still like fully in that exact same situation. It's about to be Devonta Smith wide receiver 1 season, Jalen Waddle wide receiver 1 season, could be Chris Godwin wide receiver 1 season,
or at least like with Waddle and Godwin, it'd probably be like a tag team kind of deal, not like a straight up 1-2 kind of deal.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. And the reason I mentioned my Scott Fishbowl team is because I found myself drafting like a lot of those guys. Just to this team because their situations have changed. So last time we spoke, my team was just Brock Bowers and Joe Burrow. Again, remember, these are very unique settings. 2 points per reception for tight ends, a lot of bonuses for big plays like 20-yard catches, 40-yard runs, 300-yard passing games, stuff like that. It's like meant to be like a video game. Since then, I have selected Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle, T. Higgins, Breece Hall, David Montgomery, Cam Scatterbo, and Isaiah Likely. So
I see how that reminded you of.
I drafted.
You just named your team.
Well, because I had, again, all those wide receivers have been so grouped in my head for the longest time, and prior to this year, there's 0% chance I would draft all 3 of them, if any of them, because honestly, that archetype of player just. I always found myself avoiding it, for better or for worse, probably to my own detriment, because we've seen T. Higgins have a wide receiver 5 season in the past with Jamar Chase around. Like, we've seen these guys do big things despite the ones, despite not being the ones on their team. But now I'm just like, for the first time, I'm back in on Jalen Waddle. For the first time, I'm back in on Devonta Smith as like a guy I will actually go after because the ceiling case can finally be made without an injury needing to happen.
That's the thing. And the floor is much better for Devonta Smith as opposed to last year. Did I have him this past year? Yes, I did. Where, he had a lot of really good games, but it's just the question of, sometimes it would be an A.J. Brown game or a Dallas Goedert game and he would disappear. Not with him being the wide receiver 1. Right. The volume should equal the big playability.
Yeah, I think Devonta Smith is going to be a really, really interesting player this year. All right. We're not talking about the NFC East today, though. We're talking about the NFC South, Pat, and you know what that means.
Yeah.
It's time for our division. Division preview. Yeah. Division preview. Division preview. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed that. For those of you,
I completely forgot about that.
For those of you hearing that for the first time, we debuted that jingle last week to raucous applause and approval. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it, either if it's your first time hearing it or for the second time around. I guess third, because I played it twice last week just because it was so good. We needed an encore. Okay.
I'll do it again.
Welcome to the NFC South, folks. Again, another division where I'm not going to come in and be like, well, this division's loaded with talent. It's got some. It's got maybe the talent of all of fantasy football, but then it's got a lot of low end and a lot of I don't know what the fuck to do with these guys. So at the very least, it's an interesting division to break down for the purpose of a podcast. So let's get into it, starting with the team I am representing here with my jersey and my hat. We got the Dirty Birds hat fired up here. So the Atlanta Falcons, new head coach, Kevin Stefanski. Offensive coordinator, Tommy Rees. Tommy Rees does call the plays. That was something I had kind of forgotten about. Stefanski's handed it off to him two separate times in the past, I believe. But as of now, Tommy Reese is the play caller. But either way, we're kind of just, looking at...
They're basically
They're
a
a package deal, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at... If we're going to look at any tendencies, you just look at what the Browns did last year. If you're going to try to copy-paste anything, not that you should do that directly, because different personnel dictates different usage, blah, 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 blah.
Sure.
Bijan Robinson is certainly not, Nick Chubb, in a positive way. Like, this is a much different type of player, so you can't really look at what Stefanski did with most of his career having the Nick Chubb and then Kareem Hunt, that combination. Definitely different tools that he's working with here. But let's go down to the positions here, Pat.
Originally I put, on our, for this purpose, is obviously in a standard draft, there's 192 picks. So for me, it's 200. Tua is not even close to the fucking top 200. And it seems like, I believe Stefanski said a month or so ago that there's no competition until Michael Penix is healthy.
Yeah.
So Tua is just simply the starting quarterback.
To me, the situation's pretty cut and dry. It's Tua's going to play. Tua's probably going to start the year. And then whenever Michael Penix gets healthy, I feel like it's a perfect excuse for them to ride Tua until the wheels fall off. Mm-hmm. And then be like, okay, yeah, Michael Penix is healthy now. Because Penix is probably going to get healthy around, I bet you he's ready around like week 3 at the latest. But if Tua's playing well, they have no reason to put Penix in. And then they'll be like, all right, I doubt Tua's going to play great for 17 games. So whenever that falls off, then they'll be like, all right, Penix, get in.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a case of like the job will be Penix's when he's healthy. I think it will just put Tua under a much greater microscope. And like you said, there's a damn good chance that they need to turn to Michael Penix because this is an extremely competitive division in the sense that they're all mid as fuck.
Right.
Any of these 4 teams, including the Saints, have a legitimate shot to win this division.
Well, and again, we have years of evidence that you really only need to be barely above 500 to win it. In the case of last year, you don't even need to be above 500 to win it. Right? They were 8-9, I believe. I believe it was 3 teams at 8-9 last year that won this division. I keep doubting that because it sounds so ridiculous, and then I pull it up and it's inevitably confirmed. Yeah, Panthers 8-9, Bucks 8-9, Falcons 8-9, Saints 6-11. And I remember the funniest part of this division last year was that despite the Falcons finishing tied for the best record in the division, they were eliminated from playoff contention with like 5 weeks left in the season, or like 4 weeks.
And then they were the ones that spoiled the party.
Yeah, but it was just funny that they had a path and achieved that path to finish with the same record as 2 other teams in their division, technically be tied for first place, but they were out of it with like a month left because of they were just so behind in like the tiebreakers and all that it was just out of the question already.
And Raheem Morris was just gonna be fired eventually.
Brother.
So it's tough when you win. So, when you go on that kind of winning streak to end the year, even though it's inevitable that he's gone.
All you did was chalk your draft spot. Although I guess they didn't have a draft spot. They gave it to the Rams, so never mind.
And the thing is I liked the Raheem Morris hire at the time, but I think with a guy like him is you needed to bring in a really strong play caller. Mm-hmm. He did not.
A play caller who we will talk about.
A play caller who we might talk about. He did not bring in, at least he did not bring in a play caller who was the right fit for the personnel that they had.
Yeah.
Now, you bring in Kevin Stefanski, 2-time coach of the year.
2-time.
The man won a playoff game with the Cleveland Browns.
He sure did.
That
man did the hardest thing you can do in this league.
Why they fired him, I don't know. I get it from the sense where it's like, oh, we needed a change of scenery, like we needed a change and everything. He's just a good coach.
I think it's one of those things where sometimes teams, especially bad teams, get backed into making decisions that they wouldn't necessarily make from like an analytical perspective, but where like almost the peer pressure and the outside pressure and even the internal pressure just gets to be too much because you don't have the on-field results. And you, as an organization, as the Cleveland Browns, like they're never going to admit that, hey, the coach probably isn't the problem here. We're just failing him everywhere else, mainly with the albatross Deshaun Watson contract and horrible trade that they made for him that set the franchise back several years. They were never going to fully admit to themselves because they can't. That tanks your credibility as a team. You need to be still looking for ways to win on the margins in the situation that you're in. And so they looked at it pretty black and white, which was, we are in this situation where we've traded for Deshaun. We are either going to have to start him or Shador, who's not very good either. And we need to convince people that something's going to be different next season. we can't really change the quarterback materially. And so we're going to kind of, he was a scapegoat is what he was. He was a scapegoat. And I think everybody outside can kind of see that. Now, is that me saying that he's going to light the world on fire here in Atlanta? No, but I do think they got a very good head coach, better than they could have probably hoped for this coaching cycle. After the Raheem Morris mistake, this is the first Falcons head coaching hire that I have been a fan of. In a long time. So I am excited to see where he can take this team. As you said, Tua Tagovailoa currently listed as the quarterback 1 and is expected to be at least for the start of the season. I mean, look, streaming caliber quarterback. Like, this is a guy that we've seen put together decent seasons in the past. Obviously, that was under Mike McDaniel with Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. I think anytime you take away Tyreek Hill, you change the algorithm a little bit, because even though Drake London, Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, good supporting cast, we've seen what, quite frankly, Patrick Mahomes has looked like since Tyreek Hill has left. And while he's won a Super Bowl since, the statistics have not been as high end. So I think Tua, we kind of need to abandon that old version of him. With that said, can still probably put together some decent streaming option games if you are either in a super flex league or really down bad at quarterback, and the Falcons are facing some bum ass defense. Like, they've got a good enough supporting cast that you could throw them in there, and there might be some worse dart throws that you could make that week, just given the talent around him. But otherwise, Tua, not really much of a consideration for fantasy himself.
Yeah.
It's more about what the rest of the offense is going to do around him, and the rest of the offense around him, Pat, we may very well have the RB1. He's not my RB1. He is and I think a lot of people's RB2, behind one Jahmyr Jebediah Gibbs.
Just stop calling people Jeb.
I don't know why it's the first funny middle name.
Tua Jebediah Tagovailoa.
Tua's middle name, I don't think he has one, because his just real name is so long. Halo Palavati Vaitai.
Are we going to do this pronunciation? Here we go,
Oh,
Pat.
boy.
Well, his middle name is Donnie, which is
I didn't know that. Wait.
Donny.
Donnie Tags. We're calling him Donnie. Don Tags?
Suanamango.
You be careful.
Yeah, that's why. I know. That's why. Tua
mitochondria.
Donnie T. Oh no, he's the new Donnie T.
Oh no, Donnie Thornberry. All right, we've gone off the rails.
Sorry,
here.
everybody.
Anyway,
but Bijan Robinson, Fantasy Pros consensus has him as the #1 running back, and not only that, the #1 overall player.
Interesting to me that it's not Gibbs. Not that it matters. I mean, they're 1A, 1B, if nothing else. But
yeah. As Bran said, a lot of people do have Jahmyr Gibbs as their #1. I feel like this is a situation with both of these guys. We'll talk about Gibbs either next week or the week after with our NFC North division preview. But don't press
it's
the
too long.
button.
It's too long to press it just willy-nilly.
Don't press the button.
I'm not going to play it out.
I think it's one of those situations where you kind of can't go wrong.
Yeah.
Like, I know, someone in our league, Steve, a loyal listener, picked the second pick, so he didn't have to make the choice.
Yeah.
Which I understand, but I also think it's like, I would have, in his spot, I would have taken the #1 pick and made the decision, and I feel like you're going to get really, really strong production, potential #1 overall player from either of these. I mean, we saw Bijan thrive last year in an offense that could have been so much better. With the talent they had, a team that only won 8 games, and we believed in them so much more. This guy does everything. And think about it. Bijan could also very well be Tua's Devon Achane.
Yeah.
When Tua, needs to, slant the ball immediately to someone, Bijan's going to be right there.
Yep.
And, you get better play calling. Is Tua a better quarterback than what they've had? Similar quarterback play. No more Tyler Algier.
Yeah.
Just be a dick.
I think that's an interesting question of what Brian Robinson does to the backup role as opposed to Tyler Algier. I think, last year, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Algier took a bit of a workload step back.
Yes, but he was still
to where he was less annoying than he had been prior to Bijan's production. Let me see his numbers real quick here. Oh no, not really. So 143 attempts for 514 last year. I guess he was. Oh, no, he had 8. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, this changes the math a little. Never mind. I didn't realize he had 8 rushing touchdowns last year. That's quite a bit. So yeah, having Tyler Algier gone, that's a boon because look, Brian Robinson, yeah, you could slot him back in there and maybe he gets 8 touchdowns, but
I'll be
I
honest.
don't know, I kind of doubt it.
I'll be honest. I think Tyler Algier is the better player. I'd rather have
I
Tyler
think you're
Algier
probably
than Brian
right.
Robinson.
I think you're probably
honestly,
correct
it's
there.
not terribly close either. I think the big difference with Gibbs and Bijan is that Gibbs no longer has David Montgomery.
Yeah.
That backfield is his.
Yeah, I'm
and
less
his
afraid
only.
of Isaiah Pacheco. Like I think losing David Montgomery to go to Isaiah Pacheco is a bigger boon than losing Algier.
You're
to go
going
to
from
Robinson.
Montgomery, who's basically a 1B, to Pacheco, who is a true backup.
Yeah.
And so, didn't mean to do that. Fuck, I'm just doing my test.
Pat's doing the 6-7.
Sorry, everybody. Right now, you say, "Hey, Pat, who are you picking first?" I don't know.
I'm taking. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely taking Gibbs, but
I think I'm taking Gibbs as well, just because of, like we said, with the no more Montgomery thing, and we saw what Gibbs can do even with David Montgomery.
Yeah.
So, I would probably say Gibbs, but if you do take Bijan at 1, or if you get Bijan at 2, I think you're going to be extremely, extremely happy.
Yeah.
I think this offense, even though there are other talented players that we'll talk about, I think this offense is going to run through him. I think he fits perfectly with Tua's kind of play.
Look, moral of the story, if you have a top 2 pick in fantasy football, I mean, I think if you have a top 4 pick, you're chilling. But if you have a top 2 pick, especially if you're looking for a running back, you're going to be extremely happy because
he could be picking 5 or 6.
Literally, dude, I feel like I'm right outside the tier where every single year my draft pick falls right outside where I'm like, okay, everybody above me is like guys I'd feel awesome about.
You're taking Genty,
and then I have to. Well, yes, but like I don't feel nearly as good about Genty as I do about Bijan, Gibbs, Puka, or Chase.
Sure.
Like, so I always feel like there's just as many players above me that I would feel good about, and I find myself right outside that threshold every year. But hey, is what it is.
And guys,
Genty
when you're
RB1
making your picks
season.
in fantasy, be very fucking careful. Do not pick Brian
the
Robinson.
B Robinsons. Yeah.
Do not pick Brian Robinson.
Yeah.
I'm begging you.
Yeah, that's gonna be what happened? Somebody did something
Yeah,
fucked up in my league. I know there's that like famous video of somebody accidentally taking the wrong B Robinson. Trying to remember, somebody fucked up in one of my leagues with they took JJ Taylor in the first round over Jonathan Taylor, which was hilarious that actually happened in a league I was in and was not for the memes. I could not believe my eyes. Yeah, Falcons, let's take a look at their schedule here to start out the season. So week 1, Steelers, and then we go to the Panthers, the Packers, the Saints, the Ravens, the Bears. I would say not a ton of defenses you're like terrified of there. I mean, look, the Steelers are always formidable, but Panthers, sign Devin Lloyd, sign Jalen Phillips. They should be a little bit better. Packers aren't going to have Micah Parsons by week 3. Saints defense, meh. Ravens defense, Jesse Minter there should be decent, but nothing that's going to make you fear, certainly not drafting Bijan Robinson.
No.
Receiving room. Pat, when I first pulled up this show sheet, and you rightfully only had Drake London here.
He's only the guy in the top 200.
Because he was the only guy in the top 200, which is very funny. Drake London, wide receiver 7, 13th overall. Where are we at with Drake London with the quarterback change? What do you feel he can bring to the table here?
Love him. I think wide receiver 7, 13 overall is just a very appropriate place for him to be. You look at some of the guys around him here, you're looking at mostly running backs like Nico Collins as well. It's tough with Nico just because the target share is going to be enormous, but who's to say London's target share won't be enormous? He's only really getting competition from Kyle Pitts, rookie Zachariah Branch, John Dotson, and Olamide Zaccheaus. He does not have much competition. So who's to say now that London, with the skills that he has, can't get that kind of target share? We've seen Tua force feed Tyreek Hill the ball, Devon Achane the ball. Who's to say that Drake London won't be that guy in a Kyle Stefanski? Who the fuck is that? A Kevin Stefanski, Josh McDaniels,
New coach just dropped.
A Kevin Stefanski offense. I like London where he's going there. I almost just said something crazy, but I don't think so. It's like, would I be tempted to pick him over Justin Jefferson? Probably not, but I thought about it a little longer than I thought I might have.
That's
so
fair.
that alone. But yeah, I think we talk about it with other offenses where it's going to run through 2, maybe 3 guys. That's this case, and Drake London is going to be the focal point of the passing game.
Yeah, I think I bump him down a little bit. I mean, he's definitely still, to me, a mid to late second rounder. I look at the receivers going behind him. I prefer the next two guys behind him, Nico Collins and AJ Brown, and then we get down to, you know, your George Pickens, your Chris Olave. Certainly, once you get to that point, I'm probably taking Drake London. But the only hesitation with him, it's not even really a hesitation with him, it's just the other players around him that I like their situations a little bit more, is that Drake London does have such an elite guy like Bijan Robinson as just a focal point of the offense, as a, you know, even a through the air target, in the way that Nico Collins does not. AJ Brown does not.
Mhm.
So I think those guys have a little bit higher upside. I don't trust Tua at this stage of his career to be able to lead Drake London to like wide receiver 1 overall. And at this stage of the draft, that is still upside you can reasonably aim for. I think Nico Collins, with a healthy season of CJ Stroud, even if CJ Stroud plays kind of bad like he did last year, like if Nico himself is just healthy, wide receiver 1's in the range of outcomes just because of the target share he's going to get, because there's nobody else there. I mean, we talked a little bit about, we like Jaden Higgins, but that's not really a deterrent to Nico Collins' ceiling case.
In this situation, we're talking about, like, we have seen Nico Collins just be a vacuum for targets.
Yeah.
We're more so speculating on if Drake London can be that. So I understand.
And I like
think,
London a lot.
I think I would probably take Collins over him as well at that point. But I think, you know, if you're at that 1-2 turn, and whether you take 2 wide receivers and stack it up or take a running back and a receiver, I think you'd be very happy with Drake London being your wide receiver 1 on your team.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. And then the other receivers on this team, I mean, look, they've got Kyle Pitts, they've got Bijan Robinson, so those are kind of the, you know, not extra, but other targets outside of their true wide receiver 1, Drake London. So there's a good chance that none of these wide receivers end up being relevant, but there's also a good chance they do, because it's somebody else is going to be on the field a lot. You know, they're not only going to run out Drake London just with this 13 personnel all year. That's not how the Falcons are going to operate. So somebody's going to be relevant. I think the fantasy community rightfully does not know who, and thus these kind of all over the place ADPs. I think the best bet for that, I mean, I don't know. They kind of all feel equal, because like we've seen, look, here's them in order. Zachariah Branch is wide receiver 87, 233rd overall. Jahan Dotson is wide receiver 115, 329th overall. And Olamide Zaccheaus is wide receiver 120, 336th overall. All three of these guys are free. I think if you're going to take a shot on anybody, you would take, with your last pick, Zachariah Branch.
Agreed.
See what happens. But I would keep my eye on the week 1 like waiver wire, because it would not surprise me if Jahan Dotson has like a nice little resurgent season here as their actual wide receiver 2.
Yeah.
Does that turn into fantasy relevance? Probably not.
I mean, think about it. You could effectively be the 3rd target on a team, which is not,
or even 4th behind Bijan.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But
Yeah.
as high as 3rd.
Sure.
So it's like on a team and an offense that we think could be productive. We've seen plenty of 3rd options, especially as a wide receiver, be effective. It's just a question is, of this gaggle of players, who the hell is that going to be?
Yeah.
I think who said great what are we gooning to in the chat? I'm sorry. We're gooning to something. But yeah, I'll probably take a shot on someone on another team. There are some other late round shots that I like better than these guys, but I understand what you're saying.
Just names to keep an eye on, because again, somebody has to be the wide receiver 2, and this is an offense that we don't think is going to be bad. I mean, it might be kind of bad because Tua's leading it, but we've seen the Falcons move the ball. Kevin Stefanski's a good offensive coach. Like, I expect it to be not horrific.
You know who's another name that we should probably keep our eyes on? Ladies and gentlemen, the Foo Fighters. It's Kyle Pitts, who...
More like Kyle Shits.
For the 8th year in a row or whatever, we are having this discussion.
so done with this discussion.
Is this finally the year?
No!
The thing is, again, statistically last year, he had a very good year, but it was lopsided with some very big games. But now the big question here is, what does he do with this new regime, where we have seen David Njoku be very successful, and then Harold Fannin be extremely successful as a rookie last year in a Kevin Stefanski, Tommy Rees offense. The question now is, can they bring the most out of Kyle Pitts? See, I am out in the sense that he is never going to be this elite tight end.
Yeah,
that we thought he's gonna be. That said, he's going at tight end 7 or tight end 8?
7 on Fantasy Pros at least.
On Fantasy Pros at least. I'm okay with that. Like, I don't think that's a terrible pick. I know we've talked about the fact that you and I both like either going early or waiting, but I think Kyle Pitts, I hate to say, you know, I'm not going to be one of those guys. It's like, oh, here he comes, the huge breakout. But I do think Kyle Pitts is going to be productive in this offense. Like, you look at guys, I'd rather have Harold Fant. Like, I'd rather have Pitts than Sam Laporta, Travis Kelce, Dalton Kincaid. Not Kittle, because Kittle's ADP will course correct throughout the rest of the offseason. But I think Pitts is going in a decent place, and it's like, if that's what you want to do at tight end, I think he should be productive enough that you'll be in a position where you don't have to like draft the second one, you know, when you take two darts at a tight end. I think Pitts is a little bit more than a dart throw. I think Pitts should be a bit more reliable than that, just based on him proving to be a decent player in a system that might benefit him. Possibly, obviously it's better than Arthur Smith's system, but this is probably going to be the best system for him specifically for the tight end position that he's had since he's been on this team.
It is a compelling argument with Stefanski and what his offenses have done with tight ends. And we talked about it a couple weeks ago because I had to go on a tirade against Kyle Pitts truthers about, you know, if you are drafting him, you are not drafting him because he finished as tight end 2 last year. You're not drafting him because he had a random 40-point game last year while Drake London was out. You're drafting him at his ADP because you believe that Stefanski and this new offense are going to do something new for him and unlock him at another level. I understand that argument. My issue comes with the fact of where he's being drafted, because he is tight end 7. So, you know, at least the fantasy community is not looking at his tight end 2 finish last year and being like, well, looks like we got to put him in the top 5. To me, I'm sticking by the fact that, you know, we're either going to be the first one in or the last to leave with the tight ends, which means either the top tier or wait. And that still applies to Kyle Pitts at 7, because I don't think it's unreasonable to hope that Stefanski gets something out of him and brings him to his best season yet. To me, I'm not taking that gamble at tight end 7. I hate that he's in this middle ground of tight ends. Like, I would have been more in on Kyle Pitts if he kind of just fucked off a little last year and then they brought in Stefanski.
Say he was like tight end 11 right now.
And then I could draft him where Kincaid, Ferguson likely are going on the premise that Stefanski could unlock him. Now I have to pay this like mini premium on him of tight end 7. Look, in the scheme of tight ends, like, I'm with you. I prefer his upside to Sam Laporta's, to Travis Kelce's, but I don't prefer him to the other guys at other positions that I can get where you'd have to be spending a pick on tight end 7, because Kyle Pitts is going near, and we'll talk about this guy shortly, Chris Godwin, Jackson Dart, Parker Washington, Jordan Tyson, Brock Purdy. Like, am I going to take that gamble that Stefanski gets him to a next level, which I still don't think that next level is going to be Bowers McBride level. You're hoping he can get to like tight end 4. Like, you know, and
I'm just thinking he can be a tight end 7. That's what I mean. It's like
he can, but that's not worth drafting. And we've talked about that. Like, if you're drafting a guy who finishes tight end 7, you didn't draft a very good tight end. You drafted a guy who you probably had to leave in your lineup all year, prevented you from taking shots at finding this year's Fannin or somebody like that, because there's tight end breakouts every year. You draft one of these mid-range tight ends, and I made this mistake last year thinking I was getting a good floor guy in Sam Laporta, and it turned out to be a total bust because he's just one of the guys, and he's just getting you like, he might get you 11 points one week, but he's getting you 4 the next. And it's better to just shoot for that ceiling at a position like this.
And you think about it, he's going right at 84th overall. He's going right at the tail end of the 7th round. And it's like, would I take him in the 7th round, like standalone? I guess. But like you said, there are a lot of other really intriguing guys here. If he were to fall a bit and maybe, you know, go around the 8-9 turn or something like that, I'd be a bit more intrigued to take him. But I would rather take one of those guys, like you said, and then all of a sudden you got George Kittle like going later. I'd rather, you know, potentially take a shot on Isaiah Likely, Chiga Okonkwo, Aranda Gadsden, Brenton Strange. Like, if I can load up on other positions, then draft one of those guys that I just talked about, take a shot maybe on 2 of them perhaps, I would do that. Unless I like really, really love my team going into that 7th round. Well, I've got like 3 great running backs and 3 great receivers. Then I might. It depends on your team. But I understand the hesitation. I think he's sort of better off as going a bit later.
I just think he's got as much of a chance. Look, if you don't have a top 5 or so tight end, you can just stream all year and you're basically going to get the same result as if you just draft the tight end 8 and leave him in your lineup. And you honestly will probably get some better results because you're at least taking shots at guys whose situations are changing throughout the year and they might become a higher priority target, whatever. To me, like Kyle Pitts' chances to become a top 3, 4, 5 tight end legitimately, without a 40-point blow up game that inflates his finish, his chances to do that to me are the same as Isaiah Likely's chances to do that to me. They're the same as Mark Andrews' chances just off of touchdown upside alone. They're the same as Rondé Gadsden's chances to do that. So why am I going to spend tight end 7 price on him when I don't really have faith that he's going to make that leap? But even if he does make that leap, like, I think there's other guys that could make that equally likely that I can get several rounds later. So I'm good on Kyle Pitts for the millionth year in a row. There seems to be a contingent of people out there that think I like draft this guy every year and regret it every year. And I'm like,
did it once.
I did it once. It almost single-handedly tanked my season. I need to stop.
I drafted him in another league that year, and that was the infamous year where I lost and got the pink eye suck at fantasy football.
I need to stop somehow drafting just the biggest bust in fantasy football every year. Because it was Kyle Pitts, that was like 3 years ago now. A couple years ago, I was okay. I don't think in the first couple rounds I was that bad. But then last year, it was Brian Thomas Jr. Like, genuine, I am one of 12 managers in our league, and I somehow managed to end up with the biggest early round bust of the season every year. So maybe you guys should stop listening to this podcast. No, I'm kidding. Please don't.
Don't do that.
I need to figure out something. Brian Thomas Jr. feels a little bit more unavoidable there. I don't know how I was supposed to see that coming, but Kyle Pitts, fuck you, Kyle Pitts. Okay, let's move on. We've got the Carolina Panthers next. New play caller is offensive coordinator Brad Idzik. Dave Canales is handing those reins down to him, but nothing really material for us to kind of work with there. We're kind of just going to assume same old until given reason to think otherwise, considering it's a guy that's been on the staff. But Panthers they're certainly an offense. That's really
Carolina Panthers
how I could describe them.
Are an NFL franchise.
Division champion NFL franchise. Let's not forget they took the division crown from the Bucs last year.
And I understand that because a lot of these players are good football players.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like any of them for fantasy. I like one of them. Okay. I like one of them, we will say. But this might be the most uninspiring group.
Yeah. I agree.
Of any team in the league.
And it's funny to say that because, like, this is an offense that you would think is ascending, right? Like, they won the division. Bryce Young looked the best he's looked last year, but I think the question's valid. Was that his ceiling? It's taken him 4 years to get to that point.
Dave Canales probably is some offensive wizard here, but maybe that's just for real life purposes. Maybe he's not going to be the guy that loads up the stat sheet, be those guys. More so, hey, I'm an offensive wizard. I'm going to bring the best out of you to help us win football games. Yeah. And that's what I think this team's do. I think they're going to be competitive again, probably around 8 wins again. We'll see if that can win the division. But I don't necessarily see that materializing for fantasy. And, I mean, I mentioned this to Bran. Teteroa McMillan might be my least favorite pick.
Let's kick it off with Teteroa McMillan and work backwards then.
Had a great year last year in the sense of real life football, won Offensive Rookie of the Year as he deserved. So he's now going at wide receiver 14. Last year, he finished better than wide receiver 14 in 17 games 3 times. And one of them was a 13 and a 10. And then the 1 week where he caught like 7 touchdowns. And it was the wide receiver 1.
I took the liberty of looking up earlier what his points per game finish was. Would you like to guess where he was at points per game?
40th?
No, 25th, but still well behind his current ADP.
And so here's the thing is we see this happen where ADPs will rise for a young player. His situation didn't change at all.
No.
The only thing you could say is, Brad Idzik is calling plays. Okay. He was there. How different is that going to be from Dave Canales, who is some sort of offensive wizard? Are we expecting a leap from Bryce Young? No. I'm not.
Really.
But the thing is, right now, I think Bryce Young is a very passable, solid quarterback for real life football. Like, I think he is going to be their franchise quarterback. But is he going to be this great stud quarterback that can help elevate his fantasy players? No, I don't. I don't think so. And I think the fact that Tet is going as high as he is, he's like the sexy pick.
Yeah.
Where, second-year player,
Second
offensive
year.
rookie of the year, team that surprised
Built like
Yeah.
the wide receiver.
Yeah.
When you envision a wide receiver, you kind of envision Ted
a
McMillan.
team that,
They're on the up.
Yeah.
They're on the up.
I have an ad playing somewhere. Or do you have an ad playing somewhere? I think you have an ad playing
No,
somewhere.
music's playing.
How?
Because my Spotify started playing No Broke Boys. Why did it do that? Anyway.
That was ridiculous.
That was funny.
But,
Continue.
God damn it, that was funny as shit.
Throw off your train of thought with
yeah.
broke boys, no new friends.
But yeah, Tet going at 14 to me is crazy.
Yeah,
like if
it's a little bit high.
you run down this list, there's probably at least 10 more guys I would rather have than Tet McMillan. I just think this is a case of a guy that did not thrive in fantasy last year, and nothing changed. Nothing changed. Like, yeah, you can say, oh, he'll get better in his second year. Maybe he will. But is Bryce Young going to get any better? I don't think so. And there's no definitive change. It's not like they lost another receiver where it's like, yeah, Tet's the guy now. No, Tet was the guy last year. He still has the same level of no competition.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, looking at the guys he's going ahead, like, I think you can make the logical case for why he's going ahead of a lot of them. Like, T. Higgins, wide receiver 2 on his own team. Zay Flowers never had that touchdown upside. He's capped at like 4 touchdowns in a season before. Garrett Wilson's just on a terrible team. Lad McConkey was not anything last year. Malik Neighbors' knee might be in Saskatchewan. Emeka Egbuka, Jalen Waddle, Terry McLaurin, like guys who had down 2024s. Or sorry, 2025s. And so heading into 2026, they kind of get docked a little bit versus Tet, who at least had a good 2025. He was offensive rookie of the year.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. I feel like the outlook for these guys, once you hit the reset button on, hey, it's a new year. These guys are healthy. I'm taking a lot of those guys over Ted or McMillan.
Well, that's what I mean. But you also look at these guys behind him and see a reason why you might pick him over him. Like, yes, there might be reasons he'd be behind, but you look at it. T. Higgins, healthy Joe Burrow. Lad McConkey, new Mike McDaniel. As OC, Malik Neighbors, Emeka Egbuka, healthy. Jalen Waddle becomes the wide receiver 1 on his team. Luther Burden, you lose DJ Moore, and that's a huge opportunity. Mike Evans goes to say, like, a lot of these guys, DJ Moore now being number 1 of the Bills, a lot of these guys have that reason why they may exceed where they're being ranked right now. I don't see that X factor happening for Tet whatsoever.
I agree with you. If I'm going to take a Panthers receiver, I'm taking Jalen Coker at wide receiver 54,
Yeah, sure.
135th overall. Because look, Tet's bull case is that Bryce Young gets better, the offense gets better, and if those things are true, Jalen Coker is going to be serviceable too. And you can get him at 135th overall. We like the versatility that he provides on that offense. I think he's the clear wide receiver 2. Xavier Leggett, RIP. I apologize. You are of no concern to me at this point. And Chris Brazzell, wide receiver 98, 270th overall. Intriguing rookie. Could make some noise this year. He could. But I think Jalen Coker, cokeheads rise up. There's a reason the fantasy darlings, the fantasy analytics nerds love him. And they just gave him a healthy little contract extension as well. So if you are wanting to take a stab at the Panthers offense being better than it was last year, because that's where Tet's ranked. Tet's ranked based on the idea that the Panthers offense is going to be better than it was last year. If you want to make that bet, don't make it with your early third, late second round pick. Make it way later.
You know who I think Tet kind of reminds me of? Terry McLaurin. Where it's like a situation where he's clearly a talented player, clearly the number 1 target, but it's just never been that huge fantasy X factor.
Doesn't have the quarterback.
Exactly, or the play calling to really bring out the best from him. And I think that's the case here. And again, you talk about the receivers, not much there. The tight ends are genuinely irrelevant.
The tight ends are funny, because again, you didn't have tight ends on here, but I was like, we should at least have the names here. But
no, we should not.
The fact that, I mean, I guess it's because we don't know who their actual starting tight end is. But I think it's Tommy Tremble. But they had no tight end inside the top 46 of tight ends, which is hilarious because somebody's got to start.
It's almost the backups.
Someone's got to see snaps for them. And this also, I do want to take this opportunity to bring up just a thing about general fantasy philosophy. When people say that oh, this guy is definitely going to outdo his ADP, so you should draft him. One, if not both of these tight ends is going to exceed tight end 47 and 52 ADP.
Will they?
Yes. That does not mean they are worth drafting. I want to make that very clear. People make that point where it's oh, this guy's definitely going to outdo his ADP, so why wouldn't you draft him?
Yeah, those are for players being drafted, though.
They're not. just a general philosophy thing. Players are not just stocks where, hey, if you drafted a guy because he was going as wide receiver 42 and he finished as wide receiver 37, congrats, you were right. That doesn't mean that helped you at all.
No,
So I just
completely.
wanted to extend this argument to kind of a broader scope, because yes, as it pertains to the Panthers tight ends, it's definitely not drafting either one of them. But I just thought it was funny to see them that fucking low down, tight end 47 and 52.
They seemed like a surefire bet to draft Kenny and Sadiq. And God, if they did, we would be talking about this in a way different vein. But they're not, and they've just stuck with these two guys for, feels like Tommy Tremble's been on that team for 100 years. Let's see how long he has been on the team.
I feel like it's probably been like 3
Let's
years.
see. No, I bet it's more. I think Sanders, isn't Sanders in his third year?
Sanders,
Tommy Tremble has been there since
third.
2021. So that's why.
Okay, so 5 years?
Yeah, going on 6 years here. So, yeah. And now we get to the running game with Chuba Hubbard. Because last year, Rico Dowdle was fucking phenomenal. But then they still wanted to shove their Chubb back into
arm outs.
Hey, yo. And he was not very good. He was not very good. Again, similarly, he's going as RB30. He did that the first 3 weeks of the season. After that, he only was better once. And again, you have Rico Dowdle. The big difference is no Rico Dowdle. So, and they didn't draft a running back. They didn't sign a running back. There are no new running backs that could alter that running back room.
No broke boys, no new running back.
Oh, wait a minute. There is a new running
Never
back.
wrong. Just early, folks.
Bran, not last year. The year
We're
before,
back. Yep.
The year before, you and I, that was probably our most contested topic, was Chuba Hubbard versus Jonathan Brooks, where you liked the rookie upside, and I was more concerned about the health, and that Chuba was simply going to play more, like games. That said, I ended up being correct there, but that's not to say I don't like Jonathan Brooks. And unfortunately, you know what? Tore his ACL again. I like him.
Yeah,
I'll be honest.
I don't like that you draft near me if you like him.
Here's the thing, though, is just that I just think he's probably a better running back than Chuba Hubbard in terms of talent. And again, the fact that they didn't bring anyone in showed that, hey, we're at least happy with Jonathan Brooks being our backup. And obviously, you know, the NFL next man up mentality. Something happens to your starter, you got to believe in your backup. And they believed in him enough to let Rico Dowdle walk. Well, Rico Dowdle was walking no matter fucking what.
Yeah,
he was
fed up.
And he was fed up rightfully because of when he was rushing for 200 yards every week, and then they stick Chuba Hubbard in to have 16 carries for 27 yards every week. I'm just not a huge. I think a lot of Chuba's good production, especially in 2024, was volume. It was just that he was the guy. And again, he very well could be that guy. I mean, I think you're still drafting Chuba in the sense that, hey, this guy's going to be the starter, at least to start. And I say it all the time. You got to win every week. You got to win every game. So he could help you win early in the season. But if you're looking at, I think overall of these two, which guy is going to help you win on a weekly basis more often, at ADP, I like Jonathan Brooks. I really do.
Yeah, it's an interesting case because I'm totally with you. I think Brooks is better, but I do think they just really like Chuba Hubbard. So you have to look at it from the perspective of when do we think Jonathan Brooks takes over, and to what degree does he take over? Does he turn it into a 50-50 split? Does he turn it into, hey, this is my backfield now. Sorry, Chuba, you can go kick rocks. Chuba Hubbard going 79th overall. I can tell you with all certainty, I am not.
Boy.
Oh, yeah. Pat's playing IG Reels during the pod. How professional.
Snapchat, sorry.
Whatever. Chuba going 79th overall. Definitely not doing that for a guy that I think could lose his job, if not immediately, shortly after. Jonathan Brooks, RB43, 130th overall. You know, the downside case for him is that Chuba is just good enough to fend him off and he doesn't take over. 130th overall is an incredibly easy click for me with Jonathan Brooks.
Exactly.
Like, incredibly easy. I think as the preseason goes on, as we get closer to draft time, his ADP is going to get up close to, I think, 100. ESPN has him in their top 300 PPR cheat sheet as 115th overall. I think that's a little bit more realistic. I don't think you can hold Jonathan Brooks down from the hype train for very long on a team where there's just not a lot of
going 50
excitement.
picks later. But that's the thing is, am I particularly excited about either of these guys? No. But I think I'm excited for Brooks mainly because of the value.
I'm excited for Brooks because I think the upside is...
And we haven't seen him. We really haven't seen him.
Right. The upside is monumental. The thing is, when you're taking Jonathan Brooks, you need to take him with the idea that you might not be able to use him for a month. You might not be able to. So if your starting lineup is set, which, you know, his current ADP suggests it, your starting lineup will be set, I would feel better if I could get him as my second running back on the bench at worst. I would be a little bit nervous if he was my first running back on the bench because I am just having flashbacks to when I took him in our league 2 years ago. You know, he was in a much different situation there. We knew he was going to start the season on IR and all that stuff. But like, I spent like an 8th round pick on the guy, and it's like, that was capital that could have been spent on just somebody who's going to see the field. And Jonathan Brooks still in the early part of the season might not see the field very much. Now, we've seen the Panthers team be adaptable to change. We've seen them give Rico Dowdle more work because they were like, hey, this guy looks better than Chuba Hubbard. Let's get him on the field some more. You know, they waffled on it a little bit, but they were at least open to it. They were not stubborn in saying Chuba he's our guy. We're keeping him on the field, you know, no matter what. So I think he's going to have the opportunity. I think he's going to take the majority of the carries in the backfield eventually. It's a matter of when, and you have to decide at what point that's worth taking in your draft because he might be a nothing for a little bit. And some people aren't comfortable drafting a guy who might be a nothing for a little bit at that point in their draft because you look at the guys going before him. And, well, I'll just look at the ESPN cheat sheet for now. We've got receivers above him, Jaden Reed and Josh Downs. Those are full-time receivers. Those guys are going to be on the field plenty. Guys behind him, Kenyon Sadiq, we already know I don't feel great about him. It's a bunch of tight ends, but Isaiah Likely, I like him. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, you know, we talked about how that backfield's going to play out. I think he's playing more snaps, certainly, than Jonathan Brooks is, at least to start the year.
Yeah.
Blake Corum's a bit of a part-timer. Woody Marks, don't love him. Jordan Mason, though, interesting guy that I think could bounce back this year. Chris Godwin's here. Like, a lot of guys that you can get, you know, if you're drafting for your bench, guys that you need or want to be able to put in your lineup in a pinch, those are the guys because your team suffers an injury week 1, suffers 2 injuries week 1.
Yeah, I don't think Jonathan Brooks is going to be
on your bench. You're like, oh, fuck, I can't put him in either.
Yeah, what do I do? Yeah.
You know, it's just something to keep in mind. I think the upside is monumental. He's 22 years old. He was the best running back prospect in his class. There is a path to an RB1 season, not overall, but like an RB1 season for him if everything truly breaks right. But, you know, you have to understand the downside that comes with that as well. But I'm right there with you. Love Jonathan Brooks. Yes.
Arby's has an Angus cheesesteak with mac and cheese on it.
Oh my.
I'm a staunch Arby's hater.
Me too, but that's intriguing.
But yeah.
Apologize, Arby's. I was not familiar with your game.
I wonder if that's on the menu.
And then
God, I am so fucking obese. I should just shoot myself.
Just wrapping things up here with the Panthers because we didn't really talk about Bryce Young's viability as himself.
No.
This whole division is just filled with streaming quarterbacks. Well, some guys have more upside.
No.
Some guys have higher upside, but in terms of their quarterback ADP, for fantasy pros, well, I guess I should say their consensus ranking, not their ADP, not a single quarterback inside the top 18 in this division. So Bryce Young is another one that, you know, based on the matchup, sure, not a guy that I have any reason to believe is worth hoping takes a step forward and becomes a, you know, lineup lock kind of guy. And at that point, just not worth drafting. Pat, a team that we both really like, the New Orleans Saints, because they're going to go marching in this year. No coaching changes for them. Kellen Moore, still there, still rocking. One of the best offensive minds in the game. Very excited for what he can do with this team this year with a full season of Tyler Shuck, with Travis Achan now in the mix, and with a newly drafted Jordan Tyson. I know you and I both have high hopes, high expectations for this offense. Kick things off for us. How are you feeling about this team?
They've only gotten better. At the end of the year, even from the end of the year where you looked at them and were like, wow, you know, this team might not be the best team in the world, but they scrapped to 8. No, they didn't. They didn't. They weren't one of the 8-win teams.
6 and 11.
Yeah. But they scrapped their way to the end. It was one of the
them.
cases where it was like, wow, this team isn't good, but you could see the vision. You could see that there's a lot of talent there. And they only made that better by using a top pick on Jordan Tyson, because outside of Chris Olave, their targets were not very good. They didn't have a lot of great targets. You bring in Travis Achan, who is quite the upgrade over a rapidly aging and deteriorating Alvin Kamara. Mm-hmm. And Tyler Shuck looked phenomenal last year. And so you're going to get a full year of him. That's the one thing about when you draft someone that's 100 years old is it's same thing in the NBA when you draft an older player. They're likely to be ready right away.
Yeah.
You know, they don't need as much development. So while Shuck's ceiling may never be super high, he's jumped to the floor already. And I think he can only get better in this situation. And I personally love Tyler Shuck as a streaming quarterback.
Yeah, I agree. The mobility with him was really the biggest thing last year that took him over the edge, because the pure passing numbers for a guy, you know, that was kind of a low upside prospect thought to be coming out of Louisville. I mean, when you come out and you're that old, it's like there's a reason that you weren't more highly thought of earlier in your career to be able to come out at like age 21 or 22, whatever it is. So, you know, the passing alone might not have been enough to get him on the fantasy radar, but the rushing definitely was. By the time he took over for Spencer Rattler, I mean, Pat, he was over 17 points in every single game except for one from week 10 on.
Yeah.
So his floor for the most part was 17 points. And then he had his ceiling games were 22, 21, 22. So he was basically capping out about there. But week 14, 7 carries, 55 yards, 2 touchdowns. Week 15, 8 carries for 32 yards. Week 18, 3 carries, 34 yards and a touchdown. Like he won't add a ton of yardage, but he adds a nice little chunk here and there, as well as rushing touchdowns. And I think the Kellen Moore effect is going to be very real with him, where he's going to put Shuck in positions to succeed. He has the mobility to make the most of it. And they have more weapons now than they did last year, where they were having to trot out Devon Vele as an actual player. They've got Jordan Tyson now. Have to monitor Jordan Tyson's health, but he's there. He's a high-end receiver prospect. I think Tyler Shuck is the sleeper quarterback this year. We are not going to be the first podcast to say this. Tyler Shuck is kind of beloved across the fantasy sphere, which means he's probably going to be horrible.
Well, I'm honestly surprised that he's still QB 20. I figured with some of this hype that he'd be a little higher. I like his, we'll talk about Baker Mayfield. I'd rather take Tyler Shuck, personally.
Agreed.
But then you look at guys like Jordan Love and Kyler Murray, who are more in a similar vein as Shuck, where it's like, well, they have a ceiling. They have a good ceilings, but I think if you're taking a quarterback late and you want to take two guys, and Tyler Shuck is a good bet there, I personally think. And we talk about Travis Etienne, who is going at RB18, 45th overall. This is gonna be a theme with the Saints. I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in. I don't see any reason necessarily why you wouldn't be. He is the guy that Kellen Moore chose to be the running back. Alvin Kamara is still there, and he's still going to catch a nauseating number of passes, I believe. But you're looking at the clear-cut RB1 on what we think is an up-and-coming offense, and there's no reason to believe that HN won't be getting the in-between-the-tackles carries, the goal line carries, things like that, the important carries. And if we think this team is better, there's going to be more valuable carries than they've had in the past. What do you think?
Yeah, I've softened a little bit on Travis Etienne. I do like him because I just believe in Kellen Moore. I believe in that offense taking a step forward. Strictly the existence of Alvin Kamara does worry me a little bit, because Travis Etienne's already a guy that was prone to these like not super high yardage weeks. And if he's getting some of that receiving taken away that he's already not doing like a ton of, I mean, if you look at his game logs, you're looking at 3 or 4 catches at most, every week except one. Against the Raiders in week 9, he had 5. Not a guy that's catching a ton of passes as it was. And now he's got one of the, although mostly washed, most prolific receiving backs in NFL history on the team. I'll say this. I'm still not convinced that Alvin Kamara is on this roster week 1. And if that were to happen, that changes my outlook a little bit. But Travis Etienne,
you would see a bit more Kendra Miller. Is he still even on the team?
He is. Devin Neal's there as well.
Oh, jeez.
But yeah, no, nothing else to really be afraid of. I think to me, the tier that he's in is appropriate. He's going behind Josh Jacobs, Breece Hall, Javonte Williams. I prefer all those guys to Travis Etienne. So this isn't a guy that I'm going to say is certainly not a guy I'm going to say is underrated. There is a handful of guys going behind him that I would prefer. And by handful, I mean, maybe maybe 2. I mean, I feel convicted about David Montgomery. I think David Montgomery is just the most underrated player in fantasy football at this point.
Possibly.
RB24. I would take David Montgomery over Travis Etienne, but the other guys going directly behind him, like, to me, the red flags for a guy like Cam Scatterbo, Bucky Irving, Quinshon Judkins, DeAndre Swift, fucking Travion Henderson, like, I do prefer
You're
Etienne
forgetting
to those guys.
Particular person.
You know, he's at the bottom here. Special to
in the same tier.
I don't know that I can click Tootin over Etienne.
I can't.
I don't know that
won't.
I could. So I guess at cost, I think he's pretty much appropriate. He's just not a guy that I'm like thrilled to draft, but again, I guess I got to take my own advice and try to draft more guys that's the build that they fit. I'll say this. I feel like it's a position where I would prefer to just draft a different position at that point in the draft where Etienne's going. Let me look at what the receivers are. I have a strong suspicion I'm going to like them more than I like Trav here. So yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Jesus Christ. I will not be drafting a running back at this point. I mean, maybe Javonte, but he is flanked by players that I love
Strong
at other
receivers,
positions.
yeah.
Emeka Ibuka, Colston Loveland, Jalen Waddle, Joe Burrow even at quarterback. Like, I'm probably going to wait on quarterback, but I still like Burrow. Terry McLaurin, Luther Burden, Devontae Adams. Like, yeah, I will be taking, if any of those guys are available, I'll be taking them over Etienne. But if I find myself, which does happen, backed into a corner where I don't have a running back yet for some reason, I think he's probably the click there just to get the guy that, you know, they are trying to build their offense around him, it seems like.
Before we
not
move
around
on,
him, but as a big part of it.
I'm sorry to do this, but like, because this is like so unrelated that you can't even believe
That's fine.
it.
We've pretty much reached the end of the point. Continue.
Do you think you have the diarrhea lettuce parasite?
No.
See, my problem is I wouldn't know. Like, I genuinely, like, yeah, I was in Pittsburgh over the weekend and was just having heinous diarrhea, but like,
Right.
that's just a Tuesday.
Right.
So like, because it's all over my X feed right now.
I'm a
Everyone just like ate 20 buffalo wings and didn't touch the celery and carrots in the name of health.
I'm a fairly healthy guy.
Me too.
I don't have diarrhea on the regular, so I
So,
would know if
honestly,
something
guys,
was wrong.
I could very much have that parasite, and we would just never fucking know unless it kills me.
Yeah, you don't. Do you have regular diarrhea or do you have fancy diarrhea? That's the
Oh, there ain't nothing fancy about it. Oh, my apologies. Speaking of diarrhea, Chris Olave. Chris Olave
is fine. What
Chris
do you mean?
Olave.
You could have talked about a bad player.
Speaking of diarrhea, Chris Olave is not diarrhea.
Oh, great save.
Chris
Yeah,
Olave,
right.
in a very similar vein in Drake London here, going a little later, wide receiver 11, 25th overall. You've got Jordan Tyson as well, going 37th wide receiver, 88th overall. I love Chris Olave. It's always funny, I own a guy, and then I love them the next year. Because, you know, it's because you watch the guys a lot.
Totally.
And Olave was fantastic at the end of the year, and it was clear that he had a great rapport with, it's clear he had a great rapport with specifically Tyler Shuck.
Back-to-back wide receiver 2 overall finishes week 16
And you look
17.
at these last
Banger.
weeks, targets 13, 7, 5, 9, 16, 11. Obviously, you bring in Jordan Tyson, who is a very viable wide receiver too, but I sort of see this as like the Eagles with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, where it's like Jordan Tyson will be very viable. He'll have fantasy value on his own, but I think I like this offense enough where Olave can still be a wide receiver 1 going in 11th overall. And I like both of these guys, especially at their value. Tyson going 88th overall. Granted, he is a wide receiver 2. He's a rookie. But we talk about being a top 2 target on the team. Devon Vele is not doing shit. And as much as, you know, we always like Jawan Johnson to be a thing, you kind of know what you're getting out of him.
Yeah.
There's targets to be had for Jordan Tyson in there. And I think going at 88th overall in the 8th round to have on your bench, I really like that.
Yeah, Tyson's another guy that we'll have a clearer picture of as we get closer to the season, just because he is dealing with some injuries. He has not been full go in camp.
Who's that, Olave?
And, Tyson.
Tyson.
Well, Olave as well, actually. Yes.
Isn't Olave-
Olave has been banged up too. I'm just talking about Tyson from integrating into a new team perspective and not knowing what his role is going to be. So yeah, the Saints receiving core is already a little dinged up here, which maybe not a great time.
Chris Olave has blood clots in his lungs.
That's what it was. Yeah, I knew he was.
At least
he was
it's not the diarrhea.
He was missing practice time. I mean,
I cannot
wait. At least blood clots are much worse.
You damn well know that if there is one player in the NFL that has this diarrhea parasite, it is Lamar Jackson. It is Lamar Jackson. You know what we should do?
It's a Lamar Jackson.
Blind ranking of players that are likely to have the
Most
diarrhea parasite. Do we have time for that? We have no. We don't even
absolutely
have.
no time
We like
for
almost
that.
have no time to talk about the Buccaneers somehow.
Oh my
But
God.
next week we'll do that.
Lamar
But yes,
Jackson won.
But yes, so
Scott Matlock too. Just fat fullback defensive tackle hybrid.
Michael Pierce on the Ravens,
Jennings
just a real
Dunker,
big boy.
number 3 with the mullet. He's the
Jake
new
Butt.
lineman. Right.
All right, Buccaneers.
Oh wait, let me make sure we covered everything here.
What do you want to talk about?
One last thing with Juwan Johnson. You mentioned we know what we're getting from him. I do think maybe a little bit underrated because in the case that Jordan Tyson or Chris Olave, misses time, which already seems like a higher likelihood than a lot of these other receiving rooms. Juwan Johnson was good last year.
Yeah.
And if we're expecting this offense to get even better, I think he's a guy that maybe you take a shot on this is the offense that really takes that leap, and he is a beneficiary, if for no other reason than the touchdowns.
He was a strong soldier for the Brand Pirate team at the beginning. He was our starting tight end for a decent portion of the year.
I feel like people think he's older than he is. He's only 29 for a tight end. That's not old.
It's not old at all. Hello, Mercedes Lewis.
Finished last season as tight end 10, put together a month plus long stretch of being at least a top 12 tight end with a tight end 3 finish in there. So I think he's worth keeping on the radar, especially if one of Olave or Tyson either go down, aren't ready to start the season. If we like this offense led by Kellen Moore, led by a quarterback that we think is gonna make a little leap here, Juwan Johnson has to come with them because the guys behind him, I don't think Noah Fant or Oscar Delp is going to eat into that.
Is Foster Moreau still on the team?
No, I believe he's on the Texans now.
Good for Foster Moreau.
Yeah.
And the other thing, too, is that for everyone, there's no Taysom Hill.
Yeah, what's his deal? He's just a free agent with all his broken bones?
He's actually 100 years old.
He is. Why is this play of the day 4 hours ago? Taysom Hill's 60-yard touchdown. Was this one of the ones against you? No, it's not. This is against.
No, fuck off.
That would have been funny.
Oh, dude. Yeah. So there's no Taysom Hill here, so that sort of benefits everyone. So now let's squeeze in the Buccaneers, who are interesting.
Yeah.
Todd Bowles did not get fired. Whether you believe he should have or not is kind of a toss-up. I think it would have been fair either way. Who was their OC last year after Canales? Was it Grant?
Last season? No, last season was Josh Grizzard, the Lizard Wizard.
The Lizard Grizzard.
Yep.
And he was not a Dave Canales.
No, Mr. Grizzard is now he's a staffer somewhere else.
So Bowles needs to go outside of the organization, and he brings in an old friend, Zach Robinson, who we talked about with the Falcons.
Making
and unfortunately, we did not talk about him in a particularly positive light.
Off the McVay tree and not necessarily doing it super proud. Not doing it dirty either.
Sure.
But yeah, I think the Falcons, fell a little bit short last season from what we wanted Zach Robinson to be this guy that was like the next man up, right? Like the next big brain guy. And I think the real indication of that, if that were to have come to pass, is he would have been getting some head coaching looks. Not even a whisper, not even a murmur of a head coaching look for Zach Robinson, because that offense and that team just wasn't good enough. So instead he takes, a lateral move literally in the division to go to the Buccaneers. But look, as an OC, he's been fine. Like I think he's not gonna, from a fantasy perspective, hold this team back. He might not allow them to reach crazy new heights the likes of McVay have allowed his team to reach, Shanahan, Kellen Moore, like these guys, but he's going to be able to do enough. I think this offense has enough talent. He's kind of just a very vanilla OC to me. He's not going to be the guy that we're blaming everything on, but he's also not going to be the guy that's like, oh, Buccaneers are top 5 in scoring this year. How the fuck that? Oh, Zach Robinson, he's the guy. That's not going to happen either. So they're kind of just fine. Baker Mayfield, QB 19. We've seen him have good fantasy seasons in the past. Last year, apparently this was like I don't know if this was a leak from the quarterback show on Netflix because it just dropped yesterday. But even before then, somebody was saying that Baker Mayfield, who was featured in the show, was talking about all the injuries he dealt with last year, and he was dealing with some pretty bad injuries. Yeah, actually, here it is. Baker Mayfield played with sprained MCL and PCL after week 2 last season. So he was dinged up basically all year, leading to, pretty bad fantasy output from him compared to where's what he did the season prior. So last year he still, this is just how this goes to show you how what you finish as matters so little, and that it should be the points per game that we care about, because he was still quarterback 12 last year, which is crazy. Baker Mayfield finished as a QB1 despite being not useful pretty much at all. We're 2 years removed now from the QB4 finish, and I think questions are going to remain of how much of that was just Liam Cohen. Liam Cohen got him to that point and then got Trevor Lawrence to QB3 last year. So can Baker Mayfield get back to a point where he is useful in fantasy himself? Sure. I have my doubts as anything more than a streamer, but do I like him enough to be able to, again, this is, I guess, a little bit of a cop-out, but I think it's true, to be able to support the other guys on this team? Yes. I don't think I'm going to be starting Baker. I think I'm going to be starting these other guys, though, with some confidence, because Baker's still a pretty good quarterback.
It's funny because I think Baker is kind of in a similar light to other guys on this team in terms of Bucky Irving and Emeka Egbuka, where they suffered injuries and clearly did not seem right at the end of the year last year. So it's like, are you banking on the fact that, hey, these guys are going to be healthy, and that was the reason why they weren't as good as we thought they were going to be last year? Or in Egbuka's situation, how good he was the first 5 weeks of the season. I'm just concerned about Zach Robinson.
Are you?
I mean, we saw Bijan be really good with him.
Mm-hmm.
That's Bijan. I know we love Bucky Irving on this podcast.
In Bucky, we sucky, baby.
I don't love Bucky Irving this year.
I don't either. I hate to say it.
I hate to say it just because one of the peskiest backups around.
I mean, he went beyond pesky last year.
Kenneth Gainwell.
Kenneth Gainwell was legitimately startable most of the season.
Yeah,
last
well,
year,
especially when who got hurt? Was it Warren was hurt and Gainwell had that start? I remember
he
another vampire.
He had the morning
warrior.
overseas game for Kenneth Gainwell.
Another vampire warrior.
And he also had just objectively like the best catch of the season, like one of the best plays of the season last year. So not that matters, but it's still cool.
But what he does guaranteed is he catches passes.
Yeah.
This, last year it was Rashad White. It was also something of a pass catcher, but Kenneth Gainwell is a specialist. This is what Kenneth Gainwell does. Sean Tucker's not catching the ball. That's for sure. But Bucky could potentially, but this kind of really, really pours water on the fire, unfortunately.
I think last year, they won't come out and say this, but I think last year scared the Bucs a little bit with Bucky, not just with the injuries being dealt with, but there were reports that he was having a lot of trouble with the mental side of the recovery as well, and the constantly being hurt. I'm not saying that they're not going to obviously support him to the fullest and stick by him through whatever he's going to, but as a team, you do have to make alterations to your plans when you're faced with situations like that, and I think last year might have shown them that they can't necessarily put all their chips in on Bucky, hence why you go out and get a Kenneth Gainwell. I have a couple quotes here from the Bucs here. I believe this is from either, it's got to be from the OC. It's got to be from Zach, because it wouldn't be from Todd Bowles. Yeah, from Zach Robinson. Said, once he gets out there, I think it's going to be great, this is about Bucky, to see him and Kenneth Gainwell go hand in hand. One guy might get this amount one week, one guy, and then the next week they may end up balanced, just kind of feeling the hot hand. We'll see where it goes. And then he also talked about Sean Tucker, saying that Tucker's a little sturdier and he's been the short yardage guy. Kenneth Gainwell has done some short yardage. Bucky Irving can throw his face in there too. So Bucky Irving... But legitimately though, with that quote, Bucky Irving mentioned third in the goal line conversation, and already with Gainwell coming in, like I think Bucky's the best back in this backfield. I just don't know that that's going to matter this is just going to be a really frustrating backfield to deal with.
It could be.
And I think Gainwell, again, going 101st overall, RB 36, I'd rather take him at cost at this point than Bucky. Bucky's not a guy I'm just overly convicted in to grab this backfield by the throat and make the most of it. I just don't think he's going to do that. Not this year. So I'm with you. Hesitant on Bucky. Like the talent. Don't love where things seem to be trending for this season, at least.
Well, that's the thing. even if Sean Tucker is a factor,
Kentucky, we sucky.
like we're talking about just Kenneth Gainwell here. If, like Zach Robinson said, Sean Tucker gets involved in the goal line, we got even more problems here. We've got even more problems here. I remember one time I mixed up Bucky Irving and Sean Tucker and thought Bucky was the tank. And Sean
I
wasn't.
remember that.
And now, but Sean Tucker is simply 20 pounds heavier.
Sean Tucker is built like a thumb.
Dude,
he's just
that man
stocky.
is one of those like what are the Mario, like the gray blocks that like move across. He's one of those. All right, wide receivers now, because there is a lot of talent in this wide receiver room here. Emeka Egbuka, Chris Godwin, a healthy Jalen McMillan, and they draft Ted Hurst, the third, this past year. And Cade Otton is always going to poke around.
Cade Otton exists.
Cade Otton will never not exist in Tampa Bay. He is the new Cameron Brate in Tampa Bay.
That's the same guy. You can't tell me that's not the same guy.
What if this has just been Cameron Brate the whole time?
It's Cameron Brate with stem cells.
So, Egbuka, let's see. Let me pull up his game log because he was fantastic.
He was a monster, suffered the foot injury, and then became not a monster.
Yeah. So we look at this here.
It's a clear line to draw as well if you look it up. So
after the bye week, he finishes wide receiver 4. Then I believe he got hurt. Well, he didn't miss any games, but at the end of this year,
I think he was hurt. He got hurt. I believe it was after this Seahawks game. So or in the Seahawks game because he only played 53% of snaps. So I think he may have left early.
Oh, that makes sense. So look at after that. 2.
Yeah.
5, 3, 17. Very good. 4, 3, 4, 1, 6, 4, 2. Not even 1. I believe this was a case of injury. I am cool with taking Emeka Egbuka. I'm not worried that his fall off was because of his play, was because of a systematic thing. I think it was just that he wasn't right. He just wasn't right. And I think over the offseason, he is the guy to, really benefit from that time off. And not to say I don't like Chris Godwin. I like Chris Godwin too. But is Egbuka going to be like this top 5 wide receiver like he was at one point last year? No. No, but I think at wide receiver 20, I think he could easily exceed that. Easily.
Yeah, I think he could be a real dude here. I think we get lost in the weeds sometimes because there's so many moves throughout the offseason that you can't properly give them all equal weight. We need to really marinate in the fact that Mike Evans is gone. Like, that is so huge for this offense. And what Emeka Egbuka was able to do with Mike Evans there, albeit, hurt at times, can't be overstated or understated. Like, we could be looking at a guy ready to make a huge leap, and I don't see any reason that he can't make that huge leap. He's got a pretty solid quarterback, if not a super elite one, but one willing to make plays, push the ball down the field.
Bro is slanging it.
He is young, 23 years old. We already have proof of concept from the first 5 weeks of last season where he finished as the wide receiver 3, 32, 26, 8, and 1. And even don't let the 32 and 26 scare you. He still had 10 and 11 points in half PPR.
And no Mike Evans.
Yeah, no Mike Evans.
No Mike Evans at all. Like, Egbuka
could
slot. Egbuka is definitely more likely to slot into the Mike Evans role than Chris Godwin is.
Yeah.
That's for sure. And speaking of which, what do we think of Chris Godwin? Because he is another guy that's just nagging injuries after nagging injuries. The guy can play. The guy has a great rapport with Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
One less mouth to feed. In Mike Evans, I'm in on Chris Godwin as well.
I'm also in on Chris Godwin. I think, look, this Bucs offense has more than enough capability to support, to me, 2 wide receivers in fantasy football, with one, if not both of them, having league-winning upside. I mean, they won't both be league winners at the same time, but one of them could be, while the other one just has a good floor. Chris Godwin is... I think it's another one. You have to give proper weight. Like, Mike, this is a guy we've always loved, and now the big target hog is gone. Yes, maybe Egbuka just steps into that role, and Godwin's kind of operating in the same place that he has been in the past. And Godwin is getting a little bit older, age 30, and has had a host of injuries throughout his career. But we are not very far removed from 2024, his first few games before he got hurt. He was going sicko. Hold on, let me pull up exactly the numbers here. 2024, wide receiver 11, wide receiver 8, 21, 35, 41, 22. So,
but even those lower ones is 9. They weren't
points.
It's not going to kill you.
Yeah,
yeah.
18 points, 21, 14, 10, 9, 30, 10, and then he got hurt. So, like, he's going to be stepping into a role. He's the trusted guy. He's the one that's been around this offense for a long time. And as much as I like Ibuka to be that, like, possibly next up guy, he still feels safe to me at wide receiver 20 with plenty of room to go beyond. Pat, it would not surprise me if Chris Godwin out targets him this year. And Chris Godwin's going as wide receiver 36, or actually wide receiver 41 ADP, wide receiver 36 consensus rankings for a guy who could be wide receiver 1 for Baker Mayfield in an offense that's going to move the ball.
Yeah.
I think he's old and people are discrediting him because of that. I think he's one of the best bets on the board at the point where he's going. So Chris Godwin,
I'm with you. I'm with you. God, we are picking next to each other, and it's going to be absolutely
It's going to be horrible. And then, look, Jalen McMillan and Ted Hurst are guys that I think can be relevant. They probably need an injury. I think Jalen McMillan is definitely next up. Ted Hurst is more of a wait and see.
I think McMillan will take some of the Mike Evans targets available. Yeah. Especially since he sprained his neck last year in the preseason and then didn't play. I think he'll be involved, but I don't like.
It's hard to see a path to start him in fantasy with everybody else healthy, but he's a guy I definitely have my eye on because I think he's a really talented player. He's probably going to be out there. Zach Robinson likes to run 3 receiver sets quite a bit. I think he's going to play a lot. It's just going to be, those other 2 guys are going to be a little bit more target hogs above him. And then K. Dotton, similar thing. If Godwin or Ibuka go down, interesting. He's always kind of eaten when he becomes the last man standing in the receiving / tight end room, and just keep an eye on for if that situation comes to pass yet again, because it has. Yeah. All right. That'll do it for our NFC South division preview, guys. Thank you for
division preview.
Division preview. We're going to get to some viewer questions. So if you are listening on any audio platform, Spotify, Apple, wherever you may be listening, come tune in live on YouTube one of these days. We go live every Wednesday during the off season at about 10 a.m. Eastern time. Answer viewer questions around 11:30 a.m. Eastern time.
We'll be shifting back to Tuesdays.
We will be transitioning back to Tuesdays shortly to prep for the season, because we got to do a show on Tuesday so we can do waivers and such. Because if we do Wednesday, your waivers will have already processed.
Not ours,
because we have 2-day waivers in our main league, but most of the rest of the world, we want to get that waiver discussion in. So come tune in live one of these days if you so choose. For those of you tuning in live, we appreciate you guys. We're going to get to some viewer questions right now, but thank you guys for tuning in once again. For Pat Gustafson, I'm Brandon Carney, and we'll see you guys next time. All righty. Folks, if we've got some viewer questions, fire them in. I know we've got some donation questions to get through.
Thank you.
First and foremost, thank you very much for your generous donations to the pod. Let's go in here. We're going to start with the first ones that we got.
First one we got is from Junior Nugget.
Junior Nugget with $10 said, keep pounding. T-Mac, buy or sell. The Panthers fan in me says he's going to be the next Mike Evans. But on the other hand, the Panthers fan in me says he's going to be the next Kelvin Benjamin. I offer you a middle ground. I think Pat and I both like Tedero McMillan as a player.
He's a good player.
So in terms of buy or sell, buy as an overall guy, it's just a matter of the quarterback situation. Pat said that you think Bryce Young's going to be the quarterback of the future there. I don't know. This year's do or die for him. We probably should have mentioned it during the pod that this is a contract year for Bryce Young.
Yeah.
But it could very well go the other way. I think, to me, T-Mac, when it comes to buy or sell, whether you're talking about dynasty or just how you should feel about a guy in general as a fan, it's that should be kind of a little bit independent of situation, just how you would feel about this guy in a neutral situation. I love the talent. So, maybe dynasty, I should retract that, because if you don't think the quarterback situation is going to change, then don't buy him in dynasty. But as a fan, I love the talent. I think Tet's really, really good. I don't think it's going to transition. I don't think it's going to translate to a lot of numbers this year or while they have Bryce Young, unless something drastic changes. So no, I love Tet as a player. He's not Kelvin. Kelvin Benjamin ate himself out of the league. He's not Kelvin Benjamin. Edge Shadow Bearer with $2 said, I drafted Bijan last year. Best decision I ever made. Brother, Bijan's a great pick every year. I have not been lucky enough to be in a position to draft him ever, sadly. So I think I had him a couple years ago because I made a trade for him. I think it was his rookie year. I think I might have traded for him, but other than that, yeah, I am dying to get to the top of one of these drafts so I could have him. I did have him in Lexi's family league last year, and he helped propel me to a championship alongside Jonathan Taylor and JSN and Rashee Rice.
Yeah, I feel like that might have been more so than.
But Yeah, no, sadly, have not been able to get him in our primary league. He's amazing. Metalhead with $5 said, assuming their coaches get fired, who's more likely to hire Sean McDermott going into the 2028 season, the Colts or the Bucks?
Oh, I actually think those would both be very good fits. I'll say the Bucks.
I wonder if the Bucks would go more offensive guru oriented than what Sean McDermott is after. To me, Sean McDermott's almost a different font of Todd Bowles. Like,
Yeah, he's basically Todd Bowles who loves Al Qaeda.
right, pretty much. Yeah, so I don't know. I think Colts with Steichen. I'll say the Colts. I think the Colts, if we got to pick between those two. Tyler with 199 said Sadiq on the Panthers would have hit like crack. See, I just still don't really like Sadiq as a player, but yeah, it would have made a lot more sense for sure, considering the need that they have. Junior Nugget with another 10 said, yeah, see, Junior, I know this about the T-Mac thing. That Teteroa and his family have gone on record saying they don't like his name being shortened to Tet. Quite frankly, I don't care. I'm sorry. I don't care.
Quite frankly, Tet has also said words that he's not supposed to say either. So I don't think people liked when he did that.
Yeah, the family says they prefer T-Mac or Nalo. Sadly, that is not how nicknames work. Tet is one syllable. Those other ones are two. It's always going to be...
fine. We'll call him Tit.
It's always going to be what's easier to say. Yeah, I don't know. I feel it's a little rude of me, I will admit, but I don't care. Sorry. We're gonna get, you don't get to choose your nickname is kind of what this comes down to. You don't get to, unless like somebody's accidentally saying a literal slur as your nickname, you don't get to dictate what people call you. It's determined by the council of the public. Tyler with 499 said, if the Bucks play hot hand with the running backs, Bucky's talent, IMO should let him win most weeks. Zach's willingness to play the best back should help Bucky. I agree, but I don't know that it's necessarily going to be like hot hand. I think they're gonna mix both the guys in. I don't know that he's ever gonna do enough to like dominate the touches to where, like, I feel like his ADP is just not good enough for me to want him. He's like RB21. Like, if I'm drafting a guy there, I want him to get more work than what Bucky Irving is projected to get.
Yeah,
like RB20, I feel like so many guys behind him are gonna out-touch him. Like Quinshon Judkins, bad team, think he out-touches him. DeAndre Swift and Henderson, we could have that discussion. Montgomery, Tootin, even Jadarian Price, I think they all out-touch Bucky Irving.
I'd like to out-touch Bucky Irving.
Me too. So yeah, I don't know. It's too many guys for me.
No, I agree. And I mean, like, hot hand per se. What happens if, while Bucky might be the most talented, Kenneth Gainwell's extremely talented at what he does. And we've seen Sean Tucker be really fucking good before too. So I don't think it's necessarily a guarantee that Bucky would win out in this supposed hot hand that you're saying.
He's playing with good players. I agree with you that he's the best. I mean, we said as much during the show. I don't know that it's going to matter. It's Fumi with 499 said, what are your guys' thoughts on stacking wide receiver and running back on the same team? Like Ladd, Hampton, Burden Swift, Lamb Williams.
I feel fine. Like, it's not one of those things that I necessarily go out of my way to do, but it's not one of those things where I'll be like, oh, I'm not drafting this running back because I have the wide receiver. It's one of those things, like, if it happens, it happens. There are some teams where you don't want to put too many eggs in the basket, but like teams like the Chargers, the Cowboys, the Bears, those are very fine teams to do that with.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. It's not something I'm actively trying to do, but it's not something I'm actively trying not to do. I mean, my first fantasy championship in our league was me being carried by the combo of Ezekiel Elliott and Des Bryant, both on the Cowboys. So it's something that, can
Who's
definitely...
Des Bryant?
God, I will kill the youth if they say that. It's not something that like is
knowledge.
Naturally a detriment. No, it's not. God. Yeah, if you believe in an offense and you believe that they can score points, like there's no reason not to double dip. Like it's scary when you don't know, like things could go sideways for the whole offense and then suddenly you've got two guys who are affected rather than one. I feel like it doesn't usually torpedo that badly to where they both become useless. I will say, to make the counterpoint, like I think back to when Russell Wilson first went to the Broncos. I was a really, 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 really in on the Broncos. And that turned out to be wrong. Russ was washed. That team did not pan out well. But like, would I have drafted? I don't think I did anywhere, but would I have drafted Cortland Sutton and at the time Javonte Williams on the same team? Yeah, I would have.
Sure.
And would that have worked out? Probably not.
No.
However,
Javonte Williams didn't work out.
that year actually Javonte was good until he got hurt.
That year, yeah.
Javonte was solid until he got hurt. So it's like, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's very uncommon for an offense that seems to be one of the best bets of the season, like the Chargers, like the Cowboys, like the Bears, with these offensive-minded head coaches, with these high-ass point totals. It's pretty unlikely that both guys tank. So, but whereas the upside of, that offense is really good and you now have basically full control over it, like every point they score for the most part is going to come to your team, I think it's fine. I think people talk down on it because mathematically it might not be advisable, but to me, fuck it, we ball. Like it's fun. It can be a lot of fun. Bailey with $4.99 said, I always forget how boring sports media TV is once basketball is over, since they refuse to cover baseball and other sports. I mean, this time of year is just tough.
I don't want them to cover baseball because the problem is ESPN, these big shows, Get Up and First Take, that nobody knows baseball. Mm-hmm. I don't want to hear Stephen A. Smith's thoughts.
You don't want to hear the GOAT debate of Ohtani and Babe Ruth?
No, I don't. Quite frankly, no, I do not.
You don't want to hear if Ohtani would be better if he was on the Yankees versus the Dodgers?
That's what I'm saying. It's like, so I'm okay with it. But yeah, the World Cup's been fun. That's been getting some good buzz.
Yeah.
Who won last night? I was sweeping. No, I had a gig.
What? Well, Spain beat England. Was
Yay,
that yesterday?
Boo the British.
I think that happened. Or was that?
Oh, no, it was France. Boo.
Sorry, Spain beat France. Yeah, my bad.
Argentina, England, 3:00. Oh, okay.
That's right. That's what's happening today. That's where I got mixed up. Bailey with another $4.99. Thank you very much, man. Said, who's more likely to be extended, Stroud or Bryce? I could honestly see Stroud playing under a tag and Bryce getting paid $35 a year-ish. Yeah, it's funny because Stroud's definitely hit a lower floor than Bryce has, but Bryce has just not really done a lot that gives you a lot of excitement. I think Bryce is more likely to be extended at this point because he's been more consistent.
And I believe that organization's a bit more stable now, where it's like you have Dave Canales, you have him. Excuse me, unless Stroud and Nick Caley turn the ship around. Nick Caley's going to be gone.
Yeah.
So it's like new offensive coordinator. Who knows what will be happening? But yeah, so I think just from the organizational stability standpoint, I prefer Bryce Young.
I mean, I think you're at a point where if both play like trash, like they're not going to be extended. So they're both in kind of the same situation. So more or less likely is kind of a wash of a question. Isaiah Torres with $1.99 said, we are Derek Carr. Okay.
I don't know how much of a voice I have, but we are Derek. Nope.
Shubes, Alex with $1.99. Fuck, marry, kill. Bobby Rainey, Devin Neal, DeBrickashaw, Pelosi.
Now, do we get to pick which parts from each person are in there? Like Pelosi, DeBrickashaw? Like, are we? No, I almost have said something heinous. I can't.
I'm withdrawing from this one, as it doesn't.
Is it basically DeBrickashaw with a certain part of Nancy Pelosi? If that's the case, I'm fucking that.
I feel like it's Pelosi if she were 350 pounds and jacked.
Oh yeah. Oh god, yeah.
Ew. Jake.
No, we're not done yet. I will marry Bobby Rainey and kill Devin Neal. Sorry, Devin Neal.
Jake with $5 said, rate the trade Justin Jefferson for Mason Crosby and a first.
Good trade, bro.
Oh no, not a good deal. I'm assuming you meant Max, but that's really funny. That would be a honestly pretty fair deal, I feel like. I mean, depending on team need, it doesn't really make a lot of sense for the Vikings to do that.
Yeah.
But if that were to happen in real life, I mean, great trade for the Raiders. Not very good for the Vikings, I guess. I feel like Max is too old to not offer multiple draft picks for Justin there.
Pelosi top, DeBrickashaw bottom. That's like the greatest option available.
Nope. Silver with $10 said, players who you love due to pure nostalgia. I adore the Niners trio of Cap, Crabtree, and Gore due to my mom getting 2012 season tickets, that being the first time I even remotely cared about the NFL. Players I adored just due to nostalgia?
Oh, mine definitely. My biggest one is Kevin Boss, the Giants tight end. Because I was so fascinated by the concept when I started watching football of tight ends and fullbacks, and that's why I love them so much. Because it was just like, who the hell are these guys? And why are they why do we need someone like them on the field? And I had a Kevin Boss jersey, and obviously his with Tyree and Plaxico, he had a huge catch in that Super Bowl against the undefeated Patriots. And I guess from a Raider standpoint, Marcel Reese. I love me some fullbacks in Madden. I used to always make him the starting running back and just force feed him.
Yeah.
Force feed him.
I'm just nostalgic for like every player from when we first started watching football. So like basically 2010, early 2010s. Like I miss the Jamal Charles, Maurice Jones-Drew, Matt Forte, Andre Johnson,
Chris Johnson,
Calvin Johnson, Chris Johnson, a lot of Johnsons.
David Jones.
A little later. But yeah, I just, that era of player just has so much like aura to me. It can never be replicated when, like, when you first start watching football or watching any sport or watching anything, like when you first spawn into those things and you see the players who are already good, they're already great, you know they're great, they just feel like a bigger deal and larger than life than, you know, we sit here nowadays, like we've seen everybody who's in the NFL, we've seen their come up, we've seen it develop, we've seen them go from, they might be an okay prospect, oh, now they're really good, and now it's like they almost have more question marks around them because we know the whole process coming into it of what could have gone wrong, what didn't go wrong, like whatever. I think it's just different when you first start watching and it's like, hey, oh, you want to like, you like football now? Okay, here's the guys. These are the guys. And it's like, oh, fuck.
And similarly to like when you said when you started watching football, like I remember when I started watching, there were just a lot of dogs on defense, man.
Sure.
Michael Strahan, OCU Manura, Antonio Pierce, Takeo Spikes, Teddy Bruschi, Richard Seymour, Junior Seau, rest in peace. Like those guys, Ray Lewis, those guys were just fucking freaks.
Go with $5 said it takes real acting chops to make a case for the Dolphins or Jets to sniff the Super Bowl with a straight face. I applaud you, Leo. I mean, Bran.
When I
appreciate you.
I turned the video on and I'm like, why is he doing travel influencer voice? Like, hey y'all,
because it had to be overly positive.
Are you gonna do an overly negative one?
I was thinking about it. It's just like that video. Here's the thing: this video took me so long that I'm taking a bit of a reprieve from. I do some YouTube videos that are fully scripted out, every word, which that one was. And then I do some like tier lists where I don't script anything except vaguely where I want to put the teams. And then I kind of ad lib. The fully scripted ones are a slog. They're worth it because they come out well and they perform really well. But God, they take a lot out of me. So I did have a plan to do that. We'll see if I actually follow through because I do think it's really funny to be like, obviously this team's gonna fucking suck, you know?
Yeah, I mean, because for every team you could just say like everyone died the end. But
yeah,
you gotta have an actual.
I won't go the.
That's what I mean.
Route.
You gotta have. Well, unless it's like Joe Burrow, because you know.
I'll go. Like, Puka gets addicted to GTA 6 because Puka wants to live out his dreams.
Puka joins the Proud Boys.
Yeah, something like that. All right, if we have any questions from the general chat, we'll do a couple before we jump off. Donation, Bailey, $4.99. Pat, someone took the god-awful Lance McCullers contract. Let's go, Astros.
Yeah, the Brewers got Lance McCullers and Colton Gordon in a trade with the Astros. McCullers waived a no-trade clause. The Brewers could use some pitching depth. I saw from T here, aside from the doubleheader shit show, how was Pittsburgh? Also, is Esmeralyn Valdez the cure to all the world's problems?
He is.
First of all, yes. Pittsburgh's cool, man. It's like
I've never been.
Our running gag was that like there's a gag on TikTok where people call like Hartford the new Miami. It's so stupid. So we're like every day we're like, wow, this is the new Chicago, or oh, this is the new Miami. Ate a lot of good fucking food, man. If you guys are in Pittsburgh, you gotta hit Pamela's. It's a famous place. You gotta hit it. You gotta hit Big Jim's in the Run. I had a veal parm sandwich the size of me, which is large.
Let's see. Are you bringing back Bus Anonymous? Yes, it will not be every week. It will be some weeks whenever I feel it is necessary. And we're probably gonna end the stream soon because I got pee real bad. Will you redo the most likable and least likable players? Maybe. It's a maybe. But yeah, I am going to call it there because I got pee real bad. Guys,
the Pat Show.
Thank you for tuning in once again. We will be back next week, 10 a.m. Eastern Time.